When Mia lost everything, she didn't lose him. He chose to leave. It started with the business failing. The letters with red ink started piling up on the kitchen counter. The phone, once constantly buzzing with clients and friends, went silent. The world she had built, piece by piece, was crumbling around her. And one rainy Tuesday night, he stood in the doorway, suitcase in hand. The silence was thick, broken only by the sound of raindrops hitting the window pane. She looked at him, her heart a tangled mess of confusion and fear. He didn't say, "I'm scared." He didn't say, "We'll get through this together." He just said, "I didn't sign up for struggle." And just like that, the door closed behind him. The click of the lock was a final, deafening sound. The silence that followed was louder than any argument they'd ever had. She didn't scream. She didn't chase after him. She didn't beg for him to stay. Instead, she slowly slid down the kitchen cabinet, her back against the cool wood, until she was sitting on the cold linoleum floor. The weight of everything pressed down on her. The failed business, the mountain of debt, the empty space beside her in bed. In that moment of absolute brokenness, she looked up at the ceiling, tears blurring her vision, and whispered a single sentence into the empty room. "God, if this is removal, let it be protection." It wasn't a cry for him to come back. It was a prayer for her own survival, a desperate plea for this devastating loss to have a purpose, any purpose at all. She was surrendering, not to the despair, but to the possibility that something better was on the other side of this pain. Fast forward 1 year. The city is the same, but the woman is not. Her name, Mia, is now etched in elegant script on the glass front of a beautiful downtown building. Tonight is the soft opening of her new venture. The air is buzzing with excitement. Local press are here, their cameras flashing, capturing the glow of a success story in the making. But here's the thing. The shiny new business, the accolades, the financial turnaround, that wasn't the miracle. The real miracle was the woman she had become. The Mia who sat on the kitchen floor a year ago was gone. In her place stood a woman who was disciplined, fiercely focused, and utterly unshakable. The fire that was meant to destroy her had instead forged her into steel. She had learned to rely on her own strength, to trust her own instincts, to build her own foundation, brick by painful brick. Then, the main doors swing open, and a hush falls over the entrance. He walks in. He's wearing a sharp, expensive suit, his shoes polished to a mirror shine. He has the same confident smile, but his eyes are different. They're searching, scanning the crowd until they land on her. He makes his way through the guests, a man on a mission. He stops right in front of her, his expression a mixture of awe and regret. "Mia," he says, his voice low. "I made a mistake. A huge mistake. I see your value now. I see what I walked away from." He looks at her, expecting, what? Forgiveness? A second chance? For her to fall back into his arms? But as Mia looks at him, really looks at him, she doesn't feel a flicker of the old love. She doesn't feel anger or bitterness. All she sees is a lesson. A painful but necessary lesson she had to learn. He wasn't her great love. He was her great catalyst. She gives him a small, polite nod before turning away. She walks towards the small stage at the front of the room and steps up to the microphone. The room goes quiet. Every eye on her. She takes a deep breath, her gaze sweeping over the crowd of supporters, friends, and new colleagues. "Thank you all for being here tonight," she begins, her voice calm and steady, filled with a quiet power. She looks directly at him, standing frozen in the middle of the room. "I want to extend a special thank you," she continues, "to the person who left when I was at my absolute lowest. You forced me to meet the woman I was always meant to become." A wave of murmurs ripples through the room, followed by a sudden, thunderous applause. People are on their feet, their faces filled with admiration. And in that exact moment, a warm golden beam of late-evening sunlight breaks through the large glass windows, illuminating her face. It doesn't feel like revenge. It doesn't feel like pride. It feels like confirmation. A sign from the universe, a celestial nod of approval. Because here is the profound truth she now understood. When heaven decides to elevate you, When you are destined for a higher purpose, the people who abandoned you in the valley can only stand back and admire you from the peak. They can see your light, they can witness your success, but they can no longer access you. Their part in your story is over. Your journey continues, but they are left behind, a memory, a lesson learned. They become a footnote in the incredible story of your becoming. The pain they caused was the very thing that propelled you into your destiny. So if you're in that moment of feeling broken, remember Mia. Remember that sometimes removal is protection. What feels like the end is often just the beginning of a far greater chapter. Think about the times in your own life when something was taken from you. A job, a relationship, a dream. How often did that closed door force you to find a new one, a better one? How often did what broke you actually end up building you into someone stronger, wiser, and more resilient than you ever thought possible? That pain you're feeling might just be growing pains. It's the universe clearing the path for who you're meant to be. Trust the process, even when it hurts. Because on the other side of that struggle is a version of you that you haven't even met yet, and they are absolutely incredible. Thank you for watching. If this story resonated with you, let me know in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more content that inspires and empowers. See you in the next one.